All right, so here we are. Welcome to, if you like, a special edition of Boon or Bust. Hot off the press the last couple of days, Australia has been the first country to introduce a social media ban for under 16s, when most under 16s, I know at least, and indeed 16 to 18-year-olds to 75-year-olds, they live and die by social media, Peter. And it's interesting, isn't it, as we think about many of the pundits are saying we're at the forefront of how things need to change. But I've seen, kids on the news screwing up their face to make themselves look older and getting it over the line, this sort of thing. What are your thoughts on this? Are we leading the pack here, or are we going back to the dark ages?
Man, I think I'm actually quite heartened by this. I mean, will it be 100% effective? I doubt it. Will there be people who slip through the cracks? I suspect so. But I think it's actually sending a message that social media is such an important part of so many people's lives that we do need to start regulating its use, because it becomes anarchy if we're not doing any controls around it. The reason this ban arose was because young kids were taking their lives because they'd been bullied online. And we've seen other countries around the world, Denmark, Malaysia, New Zealand, Ireland, all of these countries starting to say, we're very interested in what you're doing in Australia. Mm-hmm. So you've criticised Australia in the past for being somewhat laggards in the embrace of technology, but here we are setting the pace, and I think it's a good thing.
But we're not embracing technology here, Peter. We're taking it away from those people we need to set up for success in the future, right?
Well, Matt, we're regulating it. I mean, what we're saying is, like smoking or drinking, you can't do it till you reach or driving a car, you can't do it till you reach a certain age point where you've got a certain maturity about it. I don't think we're actually saying we're banning it. We're actually saying, how can we control its use?
Yeah, they're kind of one and the same, Peter, in my mind.
Yes.
But again, I think it really comes back to, and we talked about this in so many topics as well, is education. You educate people why something's not good for them, right? We saw that with smoking, for example. We've seen that with alcohol in terms of the bad side of that. And I'm not for a moment saying I don't think it's a good idea, because I do think it's a good idea. But I think what we need to make sure we're doing as we, potentially take social media out of the hands of the 16 to 18-year-olds is use that time. And at the press conference yesterday, this was raised as well. We need to use that time to educate our people, our children, even some of our young employees. We've got apprentices working in many organisations that our viewers work for. So we need to use that time to educate them. And I mentioned it to you before because, I don't want to bag the social media platforms too much, right? But they've created a drug, and they've created a drug on purpose to drive advertising revenue. They haven't generated algorithms because they're good folks and they just want people to get access to the right information. I had a conversation with, I won't name the company, a very senior executive with essentially a gambling enabling company. All right, I'll call it that. That's a great way of putting it. It's a new term for me, right?
A euphemism.
And he was saying to me that they know when they analyze Instagram, for example, that the algorithms they're using are very, very similar to what we see in poker machines, which are the scourge of Australia at the moment, right? They know that the algorithms are the same. So these companies haven't generated the algorithms for the common good. They've created them to hook people, to get people addicted to their platforms, Peter.
But Matt, I know there's going to be libertarian viewpoints on this. And what responsibility do people have to take for their own lives? Do we actually expect the government to regulate our lives, or should we take some ownership of it? And it becomes a very heated topic. It polarizes people who feel we're becoming a nanny state. Mm-hmm. But I think it's actually, that argument ignores the reality around us today. Mm-hmm. Kids of 15 committing suicide because they've been bullied online is a fact of life. Mm-hmm. And we've got to stop that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree, Peter. I'm for a moment not disagreeing here. I think you're right. I mean, regulation is critical. As long as that regulation is put in place, clearly articulating not just the why we're doing it, but what's the benefit to the individual, right? And to try to articulate to a 14-year-old, 15-year-old how this is beneficial to them when all they see is they're being cut off from their social networks is a big challenge. Yeah. And again, I know we've talked about, you come from a family of teachers, and we keep putting the onus back on teachers. But I think the onus needs to be on the parents.
Yeah.
And we need to educate the parents to help them articulate, the benefits of this to the person. Because all kids think, it's like, I don't know, Channel House rule, I smoked when I was young, right before the legal age. Because that's just kind of what you do. I don't smoke anymore, by the way.
That's right.
Let you know, okay? But the point there is that we'll always get around regulation unless someone gives us the right input as to why it's bad for us to do that. As far as kids are concerned, we're just banning something.
I know, and so you think it's unfair to them to do it. Why can you do it and I can't do it? That sort of type of argument comes in.
It does in their mind, and
does.
again, I know all the reasons why we're doing it, and I absolutely agree with it. Right?
But it's also, I think there's another factor, Matt. I think social media has appeared in our lives over the last 20 years, and it's been a force of a lot of good. I'm not going to deny that. The things that social media does in bringing people together in groups and making connections to people and all those sorts of things. But I think it also needs to have some structure and parameters about how it's used and why it's used. You spoke there about algorithms. Can you create some nefarious algorithm that makes people do bad things and nobody judges it or regulates it? Why is that allowed?
Absolutely. Why is that allowed? We better ask the CEO of those very large social media companies, Peter.
Well, but we see, they're actually too powerful to be touched these days. And it's somewhere we've got to set a rule that nobody's above the law. We want a society with social media that gives people a chance to talk to other people. But we actually want to do it within some parameters that don't destroy the lives of people.
Too powerful or indispensable, Peter? As you always say to me, graveyards are full of indispensable people. Great conversation as always, Peter. Thank you very much.